All right, we have Benson Henderson joining us right now. He's back in action this Thursday in the co-main event of Bellator 253. He's going to take on Jason Jackson. Benson, good to talk to you again, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Not too bad at all. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. So this fight seemed to have come together quickly, but Bellator likes to wait to announce these fights until the date gets a little bit closer. When were you made aware of this fight with Jason?
I was given notice about Jason a little under 2 weeks, two weeks ahead of time. So, but I did text Mike Kogan. I did text Bellator and say, hey, I don't know if I did tell you guys this or not. I hope you guys know this already. But if you guys got anything short notice, 170, 155 is 155. I need a little more notice. I need about 3-4 weeks notice. 50, 70, give me 2 days notice. If you guys need anything, let me know though. And about 2-3 days later, 4 days later, he texted me, hit me up, and said, hey, you wanted some short notice? How about Jason Jackson, November 19th? I said, let's do it. I'm in Huckleberry.
There you go. When was the last time you've had a fight in like 2 weeks notice or that kind of short notice? Has it been a while, or is this somewhat typical for you?
No, it's not too typical. Normally nowadays in Bellator, they give me a good advance notice ahead of time.
Right.
Not for a while, I think. Not for a while did I have a short notice fight.
Does it feel different? I mean, you've experienced everything at this point. You've had short notice fights before in your career, but does it feel different, a little old school here?
No, it feels good, especially being at 170. It's nice to be able to concentrate on your opponent, Jason Jackson, worry about what he brings to the game, and not have to obsess about how many calories I've eaten today, how many calories I ate at breakfast, how many grams of protein I had, how many milligrams of sodium I've intook throughout the day, how much my protein was. So it's nice just to worry about fighting and not all the other get down the weight and stuff.
How much did you weigh, if you don't mind me asking, when you said yes to the fight?
I think I was like 178 pounds, like 178.2 that day. I remember they texted and asked.
Oh, there you go. This is easy peasy for you.
Yeah.
You're probably close to the weight right by now, right? You probably just walk in.
Yeah,
and
I
make
actually
it.
tried to keep up a little heavier weight and work my strength conditioning coach on being stronger, heavier at 170. So it's only 2 weeks notice, so it's harder to do that. But yeah, I'm trying to stay away from being too light.
There you go. So your last fight was back in August against Michael Chandler, and you were looking pretty darn good early on in that fight. You really beating up his body, and then he lands that left hand, and he ends up putting you away. Obviously, not the way you drew it up, especially considering how fired up you were to run that one back. But, wins and losses, you can always take something away from these fights. What were you able to take away from that fight despite it not going your way?
The thing I took away most from the Chandler fight was him making an adjustment in the middle of the fight, meaning me not being able to adjust to it. It was he switched to a southpaw stance. Whether they saw something, scouted something ahead of time, he switched to southpaw stance. And when he switched to southpaw, I did attack right away. I did notice that. And then normally when someone switches stance, they're not obviously as good in their off stance as they are their natural stance. But he switched to southpaw. And I fired off right away. I was aggressive. I went forward right away. I landed, I think, a good hard body shot when he went to southpaw. But I didn't make the defensive adjustments, I guess. But he came through with that good left hand. He landed pretty clean from his southpaw stance. So I did not adjust accordingly. I didn't adjust enough.
I mean, of course, we saw that led to Chandler goes into free agency. He's now at the UFC, and he's one of the Bellator OGs, one of the faces of the promotion for a long time. Were you surprised that he jumped to the UFC, or did you think there's a chance he might have come back and stayed?
I didn't really know. I wasn't really sure. Didn't have much. Didn't hear much one way or the other about it, really.
How do you think he's going to fare over there? Last question on this, and then we'll move on to the fight. But
no, it's fine. No worries. I think he can do really well, actually. I think he has the wrestling ability. Khabib retired, but I think he had the wrestling pedigree to not get held down. I think he was wise enough, MMA IQ, MMA wrestling. I think he was good enough to not get held down by Khabib, and then had the power in his hands because Khabib got hit a lot. I think he had the power in his hands to put Khabib down. But whatever, we're gonna find out now. But I think he stacks up very well against most of all the other guys at 155. I think he'll do very well. I think he'll hold his own. He's a true champion.
Yes, because it looks like maybe Tony Ferguson, maybe Justin Gaethje seems to be in his future. You like his chances in those fights?
I think he's tested pretty well against most of those guys. I'll be interested in seeing, because he's a shorter guy, how he does against some of the longer, better guys. He's gone against long guys in his past. In some of his fights, he's had a tough matchup or some of the shorter guys, actually. But I'd still be interested in seeing how he does against some of the longer guys, especially some of the guys are like 6'3" or 155. I'm not sure how tall Tony is and what his reach is or anything. But I'll be interested in seeing Chandler against a longer, taller guy with a reach of like 78 inches, 79 inches or so, and seeing how he's able to overcome that.
So let's talk about Thursday night, back to welterweight to face a guy in Jason Jackson. I mean, he's been in there with some big names. He's had his opportunities along the way. Very talented guy, just beat Jordan Mean in his last fight. Did you know much about Jason when you got the matchup, and how do you like it now from like an X's and O's perspective?
I didn't know very much about Jason beforehand. I think I did see his fight with Ed Ruth, so the name sounded familiar, and I was like, oh, yeah, the guy who fought Ed Ruth. So, yeah, I didn't really know much about him. I think I only saw one of his fights. I do like the matchup. I think hopefully it allows me the opportunity to showcase a lot of things I've been working on. I use the analogy of the fighters, good fighters, the guys who've been doing it a while, been around, they're like painters. Someone who paints something, they want to show it to the world. Hey, look what I've been working on. I've spent 2 months painting this painting. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I want the world to see it. Check it out. Fighters, myself, I'm the same way. Like, hey, I got kicked in the head 17 times. I got punched in the body 27 times. Working on this new spin move I have. It's really cool. Check it out. I want you guys to see it. So I want to showcase the world stuff I've been working on. So I think that Jason Jackson gives me a great opportunity to really showcase some things that we're working on, whether it was against Chandler, working on it against specifically, or whether it was against Miles Jury or Asaya Nawad, Adam Piccolotti. A lot of those guys, I got my hand raised, so that's awesome. I'm thankful for that. But I wasn't able to showcase a lot of the stand-up, a lot of things I've been working on. My stand-up coach, Rob Emerson, we're working on a lot of really cool new technique with him, and I'm being able to land it much more consistently in practice. So I really want to showcase that. I want to show the world, like, hey, check this out. Like, he's going to catch my leg, and I'm going to jump. I'm going to spin in the air. I'm going to kick him with a back kick. It's like you get very rarely do you get opportunities to pull a move off. I'm hoping to have those opportunities against Jason Jackson and pull off some moves I've been working on.
That's what we like to see. It's funny because you mentioned the painting thing, because Jason Jackson's painted some really good paintings along the way, but when it comes to being credited and being asked to paint that masterpiece, he just hasn't been able to do it yet. Like, he, by his own admittance, like when it comes to getting that big fight or getting that chance towards taking that next step forward, he's come up just short every single time. He knows it. It's something that he's spoken about. Is that going through and like studying up on him? Is that something you noticed, or is that something you don't really pay attention to?
No, I haven't paid that much attention to his career, so I haven't really noticed that about him. It's interesting. It is cool to hear him say that, to acknowledge that. I think for anyone to overcome a problem, they first have to recognize it. They first have to understand it. So for him to recognize that, to understand that, to say that, speaks a lot about him as a person, to recognize that as an athlete. But no, it wasn't something I was aware of, but something I intend on to keep on going for him.
Like we said earlier, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time and you've seen it all at this point, but momentum is a big thing in mixed martial arts, especially even in like a team setting, like over at the lab. I mean, you guys have a ton of momentum right now. You got guys like Batista, Kyler Phillips, Casey Kenny's been on this crazy run as of late. And I remember I was having this conversation with James Krause before his last fight, and he said that, when it comes to preparation, the vibe in the gym, that momentum makes everybody better, like everybody around him better. But then you get locked in the cage and none of that matters anymore. Is that how you look at it as well? And how is the vibe over at the lab these days with all the success you guys have been having?
The vibe of the lab has always been pretty strong, pretty good. We're always pretty consistent. We've learned from our coach, John Crouch, from myself, from all our veterans, we learned you can't really ride the roller coaster. You have some big wins. You can't be all, I'm on top of the world, because then you get a loss, and that loss brings you back down, Yeah, just not ride the roller coaster, just stay even keeled. Always consistently have great practice. Consistently, practice like, our mantra there is to be the hardest worker in the room. We have a room full of young killers out there, like, who don't have big names, or 4-0 or 3-0, or amateurs that are 2-0 as an amateur, but they work their butts off. They try and work every single day. They want to be the hardest worker in the room. You know, they have myself, Jerry Cannonier, like you said, David Machad, Mario Bautista, and all these guys, these youngsters are trying to outwork us. Like, oh man, like, yo, they're bringing it today. Let's go. We got to work that much harder, you know? So, it's good. It's a good vibe in the room. We're always just trying to get better. We're all just trying to be the hardest worker in the room that day. That day, who's gonna be the hardest worker? You or me? Let's find out. You know, so that vibe we have going at the gym, it's a great vibe. It's nice to have people who honestly care about you, care about your family, your kids, and not just, you know, be there to punch you in the face and get better at punching you in the face, and they're actually trying to help you get better, help your career, help you, you know, live your dream. So it's really nice to have that. I couldn't be doing this if I didn't have, you know, my gym the way it is. I couldn't go to another gym and be, you know, a punching bag or just be some guy and not have people I really care about, people that care about me. I couldn't do that.
From like a coaching perspective and a trainer perspective, are you excited to continue to see this evolution of the sport? Because now you're seeing kids like, you know, kids 12, 13 years old, they used to be like at our age, they used to play baseball, basketball, football. Now they're training, they're in jujitsu classes. Like I have a niece who started jujitsu when she was 7 years old and she loves it and she's like obsessed with it. So seeing these next wave of kids just coming through, by the time they're like in high school, they're like ready to go. That's just crazy, right? Like you've been part of this evolution for a while now.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. You know, I've been seeing the wave, I've been seeing the trend. I think it's great. You get a lot. It's about the love of athletes going into the sport. So throughout America for the past, you know, 100, 200 years, the top tier athletes from a younger age, 7, 8, 9, 10, they would choose to play, you know, baseball or football or basketball. All the best athletes would go do those sports. And then the third, fourth best athletes would do, you know, the next sports. They would choose baseball first. The best athletes would go to the football. And then they would choose baseball, and then they choose basketball, and then they choose soccer or whatever, you know, going on. And then somewhere down the line, it'd be, you know, guys left over or whatever. So now we're getting in actual martial arts, you're getting guys, instead of playing basketball, like you said, at a young age, instead of playing football, you know, you get these kids that are monster, just athletes at a young age. Like they're just, you can just tell like their difference of, you know, a natural athlete who plays football and picks it up right away and does amazing. Those guys, and instead of playing football, instead of playing basketball, they're dedicating that, they're spending that same time, the same hours, instead of dedicating it towards basketball or football or soccer or whatever, they're dedicating it towards jiu-jitsu or wrestling or MMA even itself, not even wrestling, jiu-jitsu, but MMA itself. And those guys are going to be scary when they get to be 18, 19, 20 years old and put it all together.
Plus, like the character development that martial arts presents, they're getting that at a young age. You're not coming in at 19, 20 years old with all this crazy life experience. They're like, it's almost like you're getting them from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
So you're about to join me in the illustrious 37 Club, Benson. We're recording this on Friday the 13th. So Monday, I believe, will be your birthday. So happy early birthday to you. And
thank you, man.
I was doing my research before. You performed pretty well on your birthday weeks. I think you're 2-1. The loss was the close.
Really?
Yeah. The loss was the first Chandler fight. That was such a ridiculous matchup. But do you make a big deal out of birthdays these days? Like I'm sure you do a little bit because you're a dad now, but is it just like another day for you, or do you use it as a day to like reflect a little bit? How is that for you?
Nah, yeah, my birthdays haven't been a big deal for me since for a long time. Maybe since I was 20 or so. Like I realized early on, like, hey, it's cool, like, yay, awesome birthday, but it's just another day, man. Like it is a day. Hopefully you do have some time to reflect, and hopefully you can spend your day doing stuff you love, doing something fun and cool. Like, I mean, going wild and crazy, but you enjoy just sitting down on the couch with your family and hanging out, and then, you know, do that, have that be your celebration, you know. But no, birthdays haven't been. My wife hates it. She always do something big and crazy and have big birthday party for me. But now she realizes, oh, you're boring. You're old. You were old at like 24. You didn't want to have a big old birthday party. You're boring. You're old. I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, how did I know this earlier? Yeah.
And you get to spend it in beautiful Uncasville, Connecticut.
Yes, amazing Uncasville. But we'll be there to go to work, get my hand raised, and then come home and hopefully have a nice chill celebration at home.
There you go. So how do you gift yourself this early birthday present? How do we get this done? You know, you get some tricks up your sleeve, and Is there a certain way you see this going down, or are we past that stage of your career?
No, just get my hand raised. Just do whatever it takes. Like, you never know which way a fight is going to take place. You never know if you think you've been scouting the whole time, guys stand traditional and they him out southpaw or vice versa, or whatever the case may be. So just going out there, get my hand raised, go do whatever it takes. If he turn into a boxing match, turn into a boxing match, turn into a jiu-jitsu match, turn into a jiu-jitsu match. Just go out there and get the job done. Go get your hand raised. Go do whatever it takes. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah, the last time we spoke, Bellator wasn't even running events. It was a while back, and they were running some programming, reliving past fights, and they've made a lot of moves since then. Now with CBS Sports Network, some interesting opportunities, some moves being made, and a lot of free agent and prospect signings along the way. Like, what have you made of all these changes and the approach Bellator's been taking over the last several months?
I think it's super awesome. I think it's great. I think it's smart. I think Scott Coker, Mike Hogan, all those guys, I think they're doing it the right way. They're building talent from the ground up. They know how to build talent. They know how to build some of the best current day martial artists. All came up under DC. A lot of guys consider him to be the best martial artist ever, or right now currently walking around. And he came up under Scott Coker. Scott Coker built him, groomed him to be the man that he is, to have the wins that he does. And he had certain matchups along the way. He didn't give him a hardcore, dynamite, awesome striker when he was 2-0 or when he was 3-0. He said, "Hey, let's give you this guy. This is a good matchup for you." And they built Daniel Cormier into the fighter that he is. So Scott Coker definitely knows what he's doing. He knows how to get it done. I think the CBS deal is huge. I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. I think primetime television is the way to go. I think that's what you want to do. And I think that some big, huge things have been whispered in the backgrounds of the Bellator guys. So I'm waiting to hear. Can't wait to hear all the rest of things unfold next couple of months.
Did you watch the card last night?
No, I missed one last night. I saw the highlights. I saw some of the highlights, but I missed the card. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 3-month-old. So I don't have a lot of time for any sort of TV watch. As soon as I get home, my real job starts when I get home.
Yes, I have a 7-year-old who's sitting right in front of me, nice and quiet, which is pretty.
Oh, nice, awesome.
Right? Yeah, normally he tries to sneak in here, but he's watching something, so that's good. But I'm sure you saw Patricio Pitbull's knockout, the highlight of that, knocking out Pedro Carvalho. I mean, you do have a victory over him, and since then, this guy's been on a mission, double champ, etc. What have you made of his surge, man?
I think he's doing great. He's one of those guys who's a consummate professional. He's a true pro. He's not too much of a trash talker either. I love that. I'm not a big fan of trash talkers. I can't stand trash talkers. So I have a lot of respect for Patricio, because normally he doesn't talk too much smack unless someone says something to him first. He didn't really talk too much smack or anything. So I like that a lot. He's just a true pro. He always goes in, he busts his butt, he works hard, goes to his fights, he shows up. I think he's a true professional. When I say true professional, I use that as a compliment to younger guys. Like, "Oh man, you're really becoming a true vet. Yeah, good job. You show up to practice after a hard loss. You show up to the gym on Monday. You lose on Saturday. You don't have any injuries. You show up to the gym on Monday, ready to get better, ready to work out, ready to improve. You have a huge win. As a true professional, as a true vet, hey, I got to get back in the gym. I got to get better." The youngsters are already watching the film on that, and they're already dissecting it. The smart coaches, a lot of smart coaches in MMA, those coaches are already breaking down that my last performance, always looking for holes in my game and how to beat me. So a true professional, true vet has a big, huge win on Saturday. And guess what? He's back in the gym on Monday. So I use that true pro as the biggest compliment as I can give. I think Patricio is a true pro, and I think he's reaping a lot of rewards now from all the hard work.
Well, I think it's fair to say that you are a true pro as well, Benson. Always appreciate the time, man. Big fight coming up on Thursday. Again, happy birthday. All the best to you on Thursday night, and pleasure as always, sir.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.